Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned into the Freeform Network. Thank you for joining us for another fun episode of Freeform Radio. I am your host, Noel, with my co-hosts, Daniel.
Yes, sir. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been churning.
Well, damn. And Andy.
Man, someone's been listening to Billy Joel. What's up, guys? We're here to wreck your ears.
It's another beautiful day here in Chicago. Wherever your listeners are, we hope you're sitting cool and feeling good. And we got another fun and interesting episode today. We're going to take it to Andy. I know you've been watching a lot of interesting shows recently. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Man, like we were talking about a little bit, it's that time of season where, well, fuck, any time of season is enough time, to watch TV. And me and the missus are always scouring all these streaming apps and sites to see what show piques our interest. So we jumped on. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Stargate. There was a movie, then afterwards a bunch of TV shows. I don't know if you guys know about that IP at all.
I've seen Stargate here and there, but not enough to know too much about it.
Right.
That's the one with like a big wheel that's in a room, and then you walk through it and you go to like another dimension or something.
To another world. It's like almost like a wormhole.
Oh, okay.
So it started with a movie. The movie was all right, and then they got MacGyver in the show, the original Stargate, and then they made Stargate Atlantis. I kind of got hooked on that show. Then after that show ended, they made Stargate Universe, which I never watched. I always wanted to watch. And apparently they made an animated show, Infinity, and then now they made another one I saw last night called Stargate Origins, I believe. So, but basically, Stargate Universe was all right. We watched the first episode, and we were, I guess it wasn't too bad. I did hear on the internet that people weren't really crazy about the show. I mean, Stargate Atlantis was great. The original Star Trek or Stargate was like, All I knew, MacGyver was in there. It lasted a long time. They made a lot of TV movies, but I would watch early on a couple episodes, and it just never really piqued my interest. And Stargate Universe, right off the bat, it's completely different because usually they're on worlds, the Stargates. And this one, it's like off-world. They're in a different world. And then somehow they get transported to a ship that was made by the people, from my understanding, again, this is only the first episode, that was made by the people who made the Stargates. So they're on a fucking ship that left Earth, and they can't turn around. So it's it reminds me of like Voyager a little bit.
That's pretty cool, but I mean, couldn't you just return with another Stargate?
Well, that's the problem. I haven't gotten that far. I know that right away they're like, well, get us back, and they can't because it's an alien ship that they're on, and they're trying to figure out, I think the gate's broken, but they're traveling, FTL, faster than light. So they're trying to, the whole first episode, they're trying to, get acclimated to the ship. There's problems. They're written in a language they kind of know about, but they don't. So they're like, what the fuck we're going to do? And then there's backstories. They're delving into the characters. Because one of the characters on there's like this punk kid who video games all the time. And they find out, they put this code in this like, computer game, I guess, and it's like a math problem, and he fucking solves it, and like the next day the Air Force shows up, and the guy who heads the Stargate Universe project is there, and they like recruit him to join the Stargate community or whatever initiative, and then that's when all hell breaks loose.
Is there anybody famous on the show, like MacGyver?
MacGyver has a cameo and there's like, for some reason, a senator's on this show, and it's Shooter McGavin.
Oh, nice.
And I'm just, every time I see him, I just see him the gun and the wink, from Happy Gilmore.
It's a classic.
And I'm like, poor bastard, man. So yeah, it's like I said, that's the only like people I saw that I noticed right away. And I'd say for right now, for the first couple episodes, I recommend it. Or for the first episode I saw, it like always the first episodes are good, but once you start going into the the steak of a show, like I call the filler episodes, depending on how the filler episodes go, it depends how good the show is going to be overall. But I get the premise. They're floating on a ship. Obviously, they're trying to get back home, and eventually, the first season is probably that's going to be their main goal. To like, we got to get back home. Unfortunately, I did search a little bit. The show did not last too long. I think it only lasted 3 seasons, unlike the previous Stargate shows, which lasted a long time. So we'll see, man. I'll try to keep you guys up to date on how this fucking binge goes. If I can stay committed, because lately I've been starting some shows and I fell off the wagon because they get boring.
Oh, I've been there, man. Definitely been there. I'm a fan of sci-fi though. The only reason I never really watched Stargate, like the whole series, was just because like it felt too long. Like I'd have to commit a lot of hours to it, and the only thing I did see that I know of pretty not well, but like I remember as a kid was the Stargate movie with Kurt Russell.
Yeah, well, that the show is based off of that. So think about that, and that was made like in the early '90s, right?
Yes.
And they made a show off of that, and then it got 2 spin-offs and like these TV movies, and it had an animated show. So there is a big community for that property. It's just I watched, like I said, the first Stargate. I wasn't feeling it, man. Like it was just like if it's on the background, I wasn't really paying attention. And Stargate Atlantis I really liked that show. It was different. They find out the people who made the uh, the Stargate was people from Atlantis, so they incorporate that, and then they're like on this base and the underwater and all this stuff. So that's pretty good. That's why, like I said, Stargate Atlantis was pretty good. I liked the way they were the people, the characters they had with that. But this one, SGU, basically, I mean, in all the shows they travel through space. But this one, they're stuck on a ship, so they're like on their own.
Man, it's just a rip off of Sliders, man.
Nobody remembers that shit, man.
Dude, I remember Sliders. I
Hell
love it.
yeah.
This shit was like on Fox for like a year.
It was like 5, 6 years, dude.
No, I went to Sci-Fi. That's how bad that show was. Sci-Fi's like, all right, we'll wrap up this show. But the one show that I go love-hate relationship. I mean, everybody's watched Hoarders, right? We all seen Hoarders.
I've seen an episode or two. Yeah.
Oh, come on, man! Don't you? I know you've seen it, Danny, right? Because we've talked about it.
Right. Yeah, on occasion, whenever I'm flipping through, the Amazons or the Hulus, and I'm looking for something, and I can't find anything that kind of scratches that itch, Hoarders is always one that I could throw back on and know I'm going to watch something disgusting and kind of interesting.
Yeah, man. Nothing gets me going like watching Hoarders because it inspires me to throw out shit.
Man, gets you going like in the bedroom or what?
No, man. I don't need
okay.
I watch something else for that. But
all right.
The Hoarders just gets you watch these people live in this fucking pigsty of houses. I know they think it's like a medical thing, but if you watch that, man, you're just like, fuck, man. Like, maybe my house isn't that bad, but what can I say, man? Like, it gets me in the mood. I just start throwing out shit. I don't even care what it is. I just start grabbing stuff. My wife's like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, we don't need this. And I just throw it out because I don't want to be on an episode of Hoarders. Like, there's people there. There's literally an episode I saw. This old lady just goes to stores, buys shit. Then she goes to her house, and she just throws it across the house. Her hoard pile, like the whole house. She's had to be like 5'5", 5'4". It was over her head, some of these piles. And I'm just thinking, like, what the fuck's wrong with you, man? You're crazy.
Yeah. I've seen some episodes where they're, like, really disgusting. They got, like, pets. Like, some guy has, like, a 20 cats, and some of them have died, and he doesn't even know because they're like buried under all this garbage. It's like really
Yeah,
crazy.
dude, some of them are sad, some of them are fucked up. It just, I, I mean, I seen some where people I think they're just lazy, but there's some where like I don't know where they get the money to buy shit, and I don't know how they can live. And they're like, there was one where this lady was just shitting in the house and just throwing the bags inside the house. Like that's not hoarding. That's just you're just a fucking animal, man.
Holy shit!
It's a mental disorder. It sounds like, man.
Dude, yeah, like and the psychiatrist that goes to help these people, she just didn't comprehend what is wrong with her. And then her daughter took in the mom for a while to help her out, and then she started pooping in cups at her house and just throwing them out the window. And she's like, "Mom, we have a shitter here. We got a bathroom." And she's like, and she's like, "I don't know what's going on. I have dementia." And I'm like, "Man, she's doing that just to spite her daughter, or like, what the hell?"
That's crazy, man.
Like
Yeah.
that is like, it's just it boggles your mind, man. Them people, there's seriously something mentally wrong with them.
I completely agree. Yeah, you'll meet some interesting characters in that show.
Even at your worst, when you have to go drop a deuce, I would never drop it in a cup. I'll like run out to the middle of the backyard or something, man. Like, I mean, there got to be some predicament where you're deucing in a cup.
At least get
Yeah.
fuck.
I don't think a cup is enough, man.
And then how do you wipe your ass, right? Yes, we have,
You have to
we,
create
some
some.
hard thinking. We asked the hard hitting questions here at fucking Freeform Radio.
You have to like create some vacuum pressure with the cup to just like suck out all the debris.
And then instant like, wonder if this woman's using rocks to clean her butt. So all you old school Mexicans know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man. No, that's a little much, man. I haven't seen that one. Most of the ones I see is it's like you said, people that are constantly buying, and they forget that they buy it, and they just throw them into the back of the pile, and they'll never see it again, you know. And then when they finally come in and they're like, all right, we got to clean this place out, they're like, no, don't throw that away. I bought that on this, and then no, don't throw that away. I bought that on that. And it's real difficult sometimes to break the cycle from a hoarder.
So with that being said, we know hoarders. It's one of my guilty pleasures. It goes through cycles where I'm like, I don't got nothing else to watch. I'll go my old standby hoarders. But that's enough about that TV series. We're gonna jump here to Noel. I know he watched the series, a couple of them it looks like, and I believe one of them is going to end. The other one, I don't know. So let me know what's going on and what with these two shows that it says they might end or going to end.
So the first one, Legion. I don't know. Do you guys are familiar with Legion?
I think we talked about it in a previous episode, if I remember correctly.
Isn't that Xavier's kid?
Yeah, yeah. And so anyway, Legion, it stars the guy that was in Beauty and the Beast with Emma Watson. He was the main character. He was the Beast. He's the main character in this show, Legion. He plays Professor Xavier's son. And throughout the whole series, it's about 3 seasons, I want to say. You see character development like crazy with each and every individual character, which is something that gets you to bond with the show. I do recommend it to the people that want something different because it brings to you different elements. It brings to you drama, thriller, suspense, horror, brings to you even musical moments, but not in the way you would think. It really incorporates music very well in the show, which gets you to like kind of feel like you're in there, feel like you're in the world, and so yeah, the whole show ended. I want to say about a month or so ago. Well, longer once we upload this episode, but definitely ended on a good note. Most shows are really tough to get the ending right. Game of Thrones, for anybody that watched that shit.
Right.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the end. It seemed like it ended on a high note where like the story concluded, at least that chapter of it. You get to see Charles in a different way than you would in all the other incarnations of Xavier. Um, but yeah, I would give it a chance
Who
if you guys.
played Xavier?
Do you remember in Game of Thrones season one, Daenerys had a brother that really like was an evil like trash bucket?
Yeah, the one that get throw the metal crap on him, right?
That's the guy, yeah, Viserys or whatever his name is.
Yes, yes.
So he's the main character, not the main character. Sorry, he's a supporting character throughout the end of the last season, and he'll play Charles Xavier.
What network was this TV show on?
This is on Fox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was done really well actually. It had a great budget, special effects were there, and he becomes kind of a god, dude. It's ridiculous. It's
Oh
pretty
God.
out there. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know a lot about the character, but he has like matter manipulation, teleportation, telekinesis, telepathy. He has everything. The tele world, the tele everything.
Right. I do remember him in the comic books, and he had the power to just like destroy people in a second because he just have to think about it, and people would disappear. And in the comics, or at least from what I remember, he was a young, like teenager or a younger person, and so he struggled a lot with his powers as far as controlling them and controlling his emotions. So when he would get upset, it would take a lot to kind of calm him down. Xavier usually had to probe his mind and like take him down that way.
So this character, he's not a teen. He's an adult, but he does have the similar issue with controlling his powers. But the way they kind of explained it for the show, at least, was that he had a mental illness that was kind of brought upon by all these. Well, every ability that he has is a separate personality. So each personality brings in a like a different mental disorder that just messes with him ridiculously.
But Xavier?
Eventually, no, his son,
The Legion.
Legion. That's why they call him Legion.
Okay.
It's like a legion of identities in one single person. So he has abilities that are like still undetermined because he has so many identities. But he's found a way to control it throughout the series. He becomes better with it, and he gets through a lot of like philosophical questions. So Legion, it has a little bit of everything. It's worth watching.
But that real quick note, that's the show that I know they were gonna wrap up because Disney's had told them to shut it down or something, right? Because that was like a Fox property. Now that they own it all. If I remember, that was like one of the casualties, even though the show did get a lot of praise on the internet.
I have to dig a little deeper on that. That sounds interesting. I wonder if it actually did have an impact. Um, you would think that if Disney and because the purchase, you would think that they would incorporate it for longer, if anything. Like they would, I guess, absorb it. You know what I mean on the Disney Channel.
Yeah, I know. The next, not to delve too much off topic. I know in the next phase for the Marvel, they are gonna incorporate the mutants, and they wanted everything before this shut down, and they're gonna revamp it or something. Like that's why there was all these rumors about Wolverine and all this crap. But they're supposedly they're gonna give it a big rollout once they get everything settled.
Right, because even like the Punisher, and that was doing great in Netflix, but they canceled that too. So
And
maybe
I
this they get X2, like Andy mentioned.
and I did read today that they do want to bring that Punisher, the guy who played him, that actor. They want to bring him into the MCU. That they're already. That's like they're really trying to get that done, even though it's part of like the Netflix deal.
I also heard they're gonna bring the Defenders into like a live action movie, possibly.
Yeah, now that they got, I don't know the rights wise how that. I know they have it, but with Netflix, it's gonna be interesting to see how they fix all that. After we talked about the Sony and Disney Spidey thing.
Yeah, speaking of comic book shows and in general comic books, the other show that I finished watching was Preacher. I don't know if you guys ever watched that show on AMC.
I heard of it. I never watched it.
Dude, go figure. All the shows you guys watch, I don't watch, and all the shows I watch, you guys don't watch. But it just goes to
Actually,
show you. What's
yeah, I
up?
was just gonna say the preacher. I'm kind of in the same boat. I never saw it, but it was something that always looked super cool, especially with the character and the little bit that I knew about him. It's definitely something I'm probably gonna have to get around to watching.
Oh yeah, I think you'd like it. It's pretty gory too at certain points, but it's pretty funny as well. It's funny and dramatic at the same time. If that makes sense.
I heard it's like dark comedy, right? Because
Yeah,
they're going off the Neil Gaiman books, and I did see some of the trailers, and it looked a little way too out for me, you know.
yeah. No, I would definitely categorize it more like black comedy because it makes fun of like pain and suffering pretty much throughout the whole series. But it's an interesting way, like in a biblical way. You know, the Bible describes a lot of suffering. You know what I mean? But
Right.
like it puts a twist on it. It's like, oh, it's God's plan. You know? And
Is
it's
it
just
like is
what's
it
up?
like black comedy like the Wayne's Brother or?
I believe
Uh,
that's African
not like
American
that.
comedy, Dan.
Oh, I don't know, man. I'm asking.
You're gonna get those SJW people upset, man.
Oh, okay, man.
That's why I said dark humor. I'm trying to be PC, you know, non-gender, non-color. I don't see any of that crap.
Yeah, good for you, Andy, man. You're woke, man.
Yeah, go, Bernie Sanders.
Well, anyway, yeah. So the show ended. It
Oh, it
started.
did end, right? Real quick, no, I'm sorry. How many seasons did that go? Is it 3 seasons or two?
No, it went past 2 seasons.
So three then. Yeah, I thought I got a short run. What I remember reading a while back about it.
Yeah, no, it definitely did not last as long as I thought it was going to. But I mean, it ended fairly decently. You know, it had I guess like a happier ending for them.
Right.
Instead,
Yeah. Wasn't it like supernatural in some aspects because he was like literally a preacher that went kind of rogue. He used to smoke, and then he kind of went rogue, or he started becoming like a vigilante. That's like the little bit I remember of him, or the little bit I kind of assumed of him.
so he was a kid who was the son of a preacher, and his father and him lived at the chapel, a little church they had in Texas, and his father got killed by one of the, I guess you could say, like rich white guys that own a lot of land in Texas, and he wanted to buy the land that the church is on, but he wouldn't sell, so he ended up killing the father. After that moment, like the son just changed completely, and he grew up to be kind of an ass kicker, you know, like a hitman or like an exaggerated campy version of like Punisher.
Okay.
And so anyway, after that, he comes back to fulfill like his father's promise. So he becomes a preacher himself. And at one point, there's this gift that he receives. It's called Genesis, and Genesis is like up there with God in terms of power. So he pretty much has like the power of God. He probably well, not. That's kind of actually the wrong way to describe it. Not the power of God, but the power to change free will. So he can talk to you, tell you to do anything he wants, and you will do it without even a moment's hesitation.
Wow. No, yeah, the character always seemed very interesting, and I forgot what comic book company, Virgo or whatever.
I
The
think
Big
Verdict,
C
yeah.
imprint. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he had a good run on there, and he was a popular character on there, so it was something always pretty interesting.
Yeah, he takes on God. He and the way they made the characterize God is hilarious, dude. I think you guys might like it if you give it a chance.
Yeah, I
Did
might
they,
check it out.
did they do it like Kevin Smith, where it was Alaina Morissette, God?
No, it's they did like the Santa Claus looking version. Like it's an old white gray beard man.
Oh, sweet.
It's pretty funny though. It's actually oh man, what's his name? It's the guy from Seinfeld. I'm trying to think of what episode he was on. I think he
Newman?
dated.
Newman. I was about to say Newman.
Nah, if I showed you guys a picture, you'd know instantly who I'm
Oh,
talking.
Elaine's boss?
Uh, I think Elaine did date him. Yeah, I
Okay.
can't. Yeah,
The only thing that you said it looks the old man. I just think of I know Wilford Brimley had an episode, the diabetes guy. He was the postmaster general.
yeah. No, he's older now, but he in the show he was. I mean, younger. Mid-20s, 30s, probably Elaine's
Mhm.
age. Yeah, but now he's definitely old, so he played the part well.
Oh, cool, man.
But yeah, I mean, we're all watching. It seems like a lot of shows, man. TV is like there's something for everybody. Even you, Daniel. You said you've been watching your own comic book shows, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been watching a little bit of Smallville, um, but mostly I'm excited for the Infinity War, or what is it? Crisis.
Infinity
Wrong company,
Crisis.
man.
Infinity
Come on,
Crisis.
man.
Yeah, I know. I was doing the
We're
Marvel
gonna
one.
get hate mail now.
Infinity Crisis on Earth, and or Crisis. What is it called? Man, I should have googled it before I
Man,
did.
it's been so long, man.
Isn't it
Infinite
Crisis?
Crisis.
Isn't it Crisis on Infinite Earths?
There you go.
There
That
you
sounds,
go. That sounds right.
man. You old man.
But yeah, I haven't seen these shows because I'm not really a WB kind of watcher. But I know this crossover is affecting all the TV shows, like the Supergirl, the Batman,
Hey,
the
can I
Arrow,
correct
the
you real quick,
Flash.
Dan?
Uh-huh.
There's no more WB Network, man. I think you mean the CW.
CW. There you go. Yeah, not the frog one. That was
Yeah.
man.
That's that racist frog.
Right. But anyways, I haven't the last one that I watched was The Flash, and I got like 2 seasons in and I kind of lost interest. 2 or 3 seasons in, and I stopped watching it. And I kind of like the Arrow a little bit. I think you watched that a lot, didn't you, Noel?
Dude, I watch all of them with the exception of Supergirl. I haven't really gotten to watch that one too much.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know the new one is that Batwoman, and I guess she almost died, or she did like a stunt and almost killed herself or something.
Really?
That's
I
great.
started seeing the
Yeah.
commercials for that Batwoman, not Batgirl, then. Or yeah, Batwoman.
Yeah, that's what I said, Batwoman. I don't know
Oh,
if I
man,
said, oh,
you're like batting 1,000 right now for PC stuff.
but yeah, she was doing some stunt, and I don't know what happened, but she hurt herself, and she had to go in for like emergency surgery to repair something. I don't. I didn't read too much into it.
Hopefully she makes it all right, man.
Yeah, I know it's a show that people are really anticipating, especially since it's something different, And I think
Right.
that's why all of these shows kind of did well, because it was maybe not the Batman and the Superman. It was a lower level character, and they really made it shine, man. They really, put some love into the show, and they got an audience for sure. But anyways, I'm a big Superman mark, so I've been seeing on Facebook and Twitter all these pictures of the different Supermans, because they're going to have the Smallville Superman make a return. They're going to have the Superman that played in Superman Returns, the movie.
Brandon Ruth.
He's going to be playing the Alex Ross version of Superman. And then the Arrowverse TV show itself, they have their own Superman that was on that TV show along with Supergirl. So, it's going to be like these three Supermans on one TV show, and it's going to be really cool how they have all three characters going around.
I did see the picture of Brandon Ruth as Superman, and he did not look anything like he did in the movie. Now, what that you said, he's from the Kingdom Come or the Alex Ross one, that makes more sense because he looked just weird. He didn't even look like himself. And then the Tom Welling Superman from Smallville, which Superman and what show is he going to be on? On Arrow?
Well, they said Arrowverse, but from the little bit I read into it, I guess they're going to play a little part in each one of the episodes. I guess the story arc is going to span across like 5 TV shows. The Small Girl on December 8th, the Batwoman on December 9th, the Flash December 10th, and then they're going to take a small break and Arrow on January 14th, and then round it up at the DC Legends of Tomorrow January 14th.
Damn, that
So
show, the Legends of Tomorrow, still on. I thought that shit ended.
yeah, no, or at least not according to this article. Like I mentioned, I don't really watch um, the CW, and I guess they're on 26 channel 26 to you over
Yeah,
here by us.
locally, yes, it's the WGN dumped them like a bad habit, and they're going to
Right.
WCIU 26 HD. You know, the U has like multiple channels, right? But on the
Yeah.
digital option, which is weird, but yes.
Yeah, so they're gonna be coming out there. So I don't know how they're gonna span or if they're gonna save it all for like the Arrow because I think that's like the marquee show, and I don't know if that's where they're gonna show all the Supermans or if it's gonna be peppered in throughout. But I heard the Smallville Superman is gonna show up with the Lois Lane from that universe, and they were also trying to get Lex Luthor from the Smallville, but I guess he declined to reprise his role,
He's
so
too
he will not
busy
be in there.
on. He's too busy, and it's always sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, does he play a recurring character there?
He's a goddamn show creator, man.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's why in the first, I don't know if you continue stop. He was a recurring actor in like the first two seasons, and then it just like stopped.
Oh, okay.
He was like robbing people or some shit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, actually, I thought it was weird that he wasn't going to reprise his role. So I went onto Facebook and Twitter a little bit and searched for him. And he put a little narrative in Twitter responding to it because I guess a lot of his fans were kind of asking him, why are you not coming back? And he put something to the fact that he was visiting his sick grandmother when his agent called and told him, I have no script. I have no premise of what the show's going to be. I don't even know what your role is going to be in it, but they want to know if you can reprise your role, yes or no, and they need to know now. And so I guess
No.
he put something like that on Twitter. He put a narrative like that. He put like this long-winded paragraph, and he says something to that effect. And he said, so I told my producer or my agent, if they don't know what they're going to do with me, then I can't say no. I'm sorry. I'm busy with my grandmother. So so I guess he's not reprising his role, which kind of sucks. I liked him on Smallville. I thought he played a good character. And now that you mentioned it, I do remember in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And yeah, he played like some type of robber
Like a
that
gangster or something. Yeah.
yeah, like some tough guy that would
Yeah.
rob the bars.
Yes. It's interesting. I know there's a lot of hype around that Arrowverse and the Crisis stuff, but I'm confused. It's like across. I know it's across multiple shows, and I tried to watch Infinite or the leaders of whatever the tomorrow because Kevin Smith he directed an episode. And I just like, man, I don't got time for this shit. Like I'd rather watch something else. And I'm like DC. I like more like DC the animated movies. I feel like they're more edgy than the shows. But I mean, I don't know. I might check them out if someone puts if they're if I could get some sort of a timeline, you know.
I would
Right.
say most of the shows in the CW they kind of cater to like a teen to young adult audience. So I
You
mean,
saying
that
I'm
might that
old,
might
man?
yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Not that
Oh
there's
fuck,
anything wrong
man.
with it. Hey man,
I'm not. I'm wise beyond my age, man.
you have a different expectation with your viewing. You know, that's why you don't probably watch Disney shows, right? Like, at least I
Hey,
don't
man.
think.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of hooked on Clone Wars right now.
That's animated. I'm talking about live action.
That's for kids, man.
Are you watching Ravens or what's his name? Raven Simone's new show or something?
Nah, man. Nah, I don't
See,
watch that shit.
that's what I'm saying, man. CW, it's for a different audience. It's Legends of Tomorrow is not bad, but I get your hesitancy to watch it. But Brandon Routh, he's not too bad in it. He's pretty interesting as a non-Superman character.
Hey, Danny, is the Riverdale Bunch gonna make a cameo on this too?
Riverdale Bunch. No,
Yeah. Fucking
Stay out
Archie.
of Riverdale. You don't know what
that.
that is? Archie and the Gang with Jughead and shit.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
I
No,
think DC owns that too, right?
Yep.
Or they're same under the same media umbrella.
The CW for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you kept up with all the TV shows, Noel?
No, not that one. I don't watch that one. The one I do watch that it's kind of a guilty pleasure. I don't really like bragging about it, but Legacies. It's along the Vampire Diaries universe
Uh huh.
and the originals as well. It's like a vampire werewolf witch combination show. And
Okay.
so
Funny
I
in
just
that,
like
man.
that supernatural stuff, and it is more like for teens, I would say, but it like it satisfies that itch that I had after Harry Potter finished because I always liked that environment where it's like a school where you learn magic and shit, and that's how this show is. It's called Legacies, but it's about kids who have parents that are in the occult or whatever, and they have powers and shit, and they go to this school to learn how to control it, like. Imagine a series of X-Men, a TV series where you just go to learn your powers and shit.
Right, like Xavier School.
Exactly.
Did
Oh,
you
cool.
ever see they made an animated movie called Justice League Dark with the guy Constantine, and they take like he's fighting like demons and stuff. You might like that. It's an animated movie. I watched it like a couple months ago, and it was a little too much occult stuff for me. And but I think you might like it because I know Constantine didn't he come out on this Arrowverse stuff for a
He's in
bit?
Legends of Tomorrow.
Yes, and they made an anime. He has two animated movies, and I watched them both. And like I said, they're a little bit more edgy, and you might like it, Noel. You should check that out.
Yeah, actually, I did watch most of the Justice League's movies, and I think that one, at least the first one, I remember seeing Justice League Dark. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like the
those
whole.
weren't too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that style.
Yeah. So for all of you guys that are into the Arrowverse, it looks like it's definitely going to be interesting next couple of months with all this hype coming around these crossovers. But I guess real quick, Andy and Noel, before we jump into our article, I had a little bit of a dilemma picking up a pizza the other day. My wife ordered it through the phone and told them, yeah, my husband's going to pick it up. And I go to pick up this pizza at our local pizza joint here by the house. And on the receipt, it says, tip in total when I'm signing the receipt. And I'm just like, tip. I'm like, this is probably like a standard receipt that they print out, so I could understand it's on here. But do I have to put something on there? So I ended up just like striking through the tip part, and I just put the total what I paid on the
Oh,
total
okay.
amount. So I guess my question that I'm posing is, when you're picking up a pizza at the pizza joint, do you have to leave a tip, or do you just pay the full amount and then just walk out with your pizza?
You just pay the full amount, dude. You don't tip. Who's that tip going to? Technically, like, there's no driver, so there's no tip.
Man, y'all cold hearted, man. But I drew a line through there too. I want to tip shit if I'm picking up.
You're braving the weather, man.
yeah,
Like, that
yeah. I'm
shit's so
just
huge.
just like you did, then just draw a fucking straight dash, and then just sign it. I thought they were gonna have like tip like $3 or something, like how they have like the delivery fee. I
Right,
thought
right.
that's what you meant. No, yeah, if it has a pickup, I mean it's up to you. But I know I think social norm dictates you're not required to leave a tip.
I kind of imagine so, but I figured there'd be some people out there that kind of maybe be hating on me just because I am a little on the cheap side. So maybe tell me that I'm in the wrong, or I should at least give like $1 tip or something for the lady working the counter or something. But no,
It's
I
like
just wrote a line through it.
real quick, like when you stay at the hotel, do you leave a tip when you check out for the mess that you left on the bed sheets?
No,
No,
I
you
mean
just leave.
I typically don't leave a tip at a hotel either. I don't know. You were supposed to.
Oh shit, you serious?
Yeah, I didn't know that was the norm.
That is the norm. You gotta at least leave like $2-3, and people think I'm being a cheapskate. But if you stay at a hotel more, the from my understanding, the rule is if you stay in a hotel more than like 2 nights, because you're coming back, you gotta leave a tip in the morning when you check out. Not check out, but when you go about your day when you come back, because everything's clean. And like when I went to Vegas, they even give you a customary rules for it's customary to tip the cleaning staff every day of your stay.
Wow.
I
mean,
mean, you don't have to be like some huge tipper, but I usually leave about between $3 to $4.
I
Like,
mean,
where
I've
do you leave it?
You just leave it on the table. They know what to do.
man, so they'd be stealing my money. What if I forgot my money in the hotel room and they're like, "Damn, this guy
That's what
left
you
me
got.
$100."
That's why
You
you
left
got
that.
this. That's why you got the safe.
Right. Jesus, man. No, I didn't know about that. So I guess I've been stiffing people this whole time on that point.
Yeah, send us all, everybody, your stories, if you tip or not, whatever, the ffnquestions@gmail.com. We'd like to hear some stories, or what is the correct norm on tipping. But tipping in general, I think it depends on the person individually. But there are times, I think on that one, the people would agree you don't have to tip on that one, Danny.
All right, so I'm safe, man. I'm safe.
Good.
So I guess, guys, that leads us into our article of the week. So this article, guys, we found it on CNBC, so it's a reputable article here. Instead of some of those joker websites Andy be finding.
CNBC is a bias.
Probably a little bit. But anyway, it's called People Are Dying from Vaping. Kansas health chiefs say that the state reports 9 fatalities in the U.S. This article came out a couple weeks ago, and it really brings to light some of the concerns along with vaping that a lot of states have been dealing with, and whether they should regulate it a lot closer, ban it, or do a little more investigation as to what kind of harmful side effects you could have if you vape. So I guess opening it up to you guys, have any of you guys vaped before, and do you believe that it's harmful?
I haven't. I've tried it, but it didn't catch my fancy. I would still prefer a good old cigarette.
I do vape actually, and I don't mess too much with the nicotine one. I do CBD, but I did have my little phase where I did have a vape pen for like the nicotine and the flavored e-cig liquids, and yeah, it was to me it's better than smoking cigarettes. I know if I know you guys prefer cigarettes, but I've smoked cigarettes as well, like for one pack, and never again, dude. That's not my thing, and I feel pretty bad afterwards.
You're missing out, man. A cigarette, oof, at the right time, at the right occasion. There's nothing fucking better than a good fucking cigarette.
Well, I myself, I have vaped, and I actually vaped really early in, when it first started getting introduced into the market. And I got to agree with Noel. It was something that I felt a lot cleaner. Now, whether that was just an illusion with all these now health issues coming along with it, or at least from these studies, but it felt like I wasn't smoking like all this dirty air, and I felt my mouth a little more refreshed. And where when you smoke a cigarette, sometimes you got that aftertaste. And just to let everybody know, I don't really smoke on the regular. If anything, I'm more of it's a social occasion. So the last time I smoked, it was about a year and change ago. So it's not something that I do regularly on the daily. But when I was vaping and when I used to smoke cigarettes, and comparing both, vaping did seem like the better alternative to smoking cigarettes.
Well, one of the things, I did a little bit of research, and I never really understood. One of the things I try to come up with is like, where did vaping became like the alternative to smoking and a healthier option? And I found a couple things, but nobody really can say it's conclusive, because I think cigarettes have gotten such a bad rap. We all know the dangers of smoking, and we've been pounded to death on that. But vaping, I think now it's to a point where I think at the beginning, I think Noel kind of mentioned that, and from a previous email, if you find the right thing, the right product and the right ingredients, and it's actually better, because it's been around since the early 2000s, so it's been like 19 years. And I did read on a blog from Penn College Medicine. They did say uh, that the it does have a lot of chemicals that your body can't handle compared to cigarettes, because I guess your body with cigarettes, that does have some, it's immune to some of the stuff from smoking, but the vaping, your body has no immunity to some of those chemicals, and that's why I think it got so popular. They tried to find cheaper alternatives. That's what I guess, and some of this shit's starting to impact people now, because in the article it does state that the 530, when this was written, half were like under the age of 25. So, that is, and the other half, the smaller fraction, were over the age of 35. So, I mean, that's pretty. I mean, it's younger people, so I don't know what exactly those metrics, what it means, you know.
Well, I think what it is like you were saying, they want a cheaper alternative. Whenever you buy something that it's not made for you legally, like if people were to get black market like e-cigarettes or whatever, or black market, marijuana, stuff like that, or any other drugs for that matter. Sometimes you're going to get tainted supplements and tainted drugs when you go on the black market, and I think that could be what these younger generation is doing, trying to find these new alternatives. Um, from what I've seen, high quality, reputable brands of e-cig and vape liquid usually don't have many ingredients other than the flavoring, and I think it's called uh, propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin. Things like that, as long as you don't combust it or as long as you don't heat it up to a high enough temperature, it's not going to degrade. It's not going to degrade to the point where it becomes toxic to you. But if you do combust it, and let's face it, maybe there's some, kids that are trying to do all these tricks and shit. And to do these tricks, you have to vape it at a higher voltage to create more vapor. And when you create it at a higher voltage, you might be vaping it to the point where it becomes like broken down to the toxic form, which actually mimics, if it's not already formaldehyde, is what I've heard.
So
Yeah.
real quick, I'm sorry. Go ahead then.
No, no. I was just gonna say I did read something along them lines as well. Also, in my little bit of research, I read something that some 150 samples that they tested, or at least according to this article, they're starting to suspect that maybe the vitamin E, a citrate that's in it, might be a culprit as well. But a lot of these tests are still in the early phase, so they haven't really found out definitively what it might be.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I know there's like these big boxes of. I've seen people smoke, so I don't know if that's like a better option than like the pens or the e-cigarettes. I don't know if you could shed some light on that, Noel, since you said you do vape. What are you using, or and that's, I know there's like different things you could do, or tools, I guess. I don't know how else to call it.
So I have a few different vape tools, I guess if you want to call it that, tools. One of them is the desktop unit. So I sit it literally on my desk, and it has a hose that connects to it. And you could use that for herbs and things like that, or an aromizer, so you can, if you have sage and stuff like that, you want to, aromize. I also have a portable vape for herbs, and a portable vape for oils like CBD and vapes and stuff like that. One of them's a mod. It's it's pretty much like a little more of sophisticated version of a vape pen. And I also do have a vape pen, but those are a little bit, depending on the model, of course, cheaper made, like less quality. So the pen that I had actually crapped out after about a month. And most of the pens that I have had, they're not very durable. They don't last that long. So this mod I have is about 30 some dollars. It's been lasting me pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's like you guys had mentioned earlier. When these first came out into the market and people saw that it started booming and kind of taking off, like everything, cheaper alternatives started hitting the market, and I think that's where some people started to get into trouble because obviously, if they got a device that's $40 for vaping, and then they got the one next to it is $15, a lot of people are going to lean towards the cheaper alternative, just because they're not going to care. They're young teenagers or whatever, or people just starting to smoke, or people that just have financial issues. They're going to try to get the cheapest alternative, and sometimes, like you mentioned, Noel, that those devices are just not made well and could be having issues, to the fact of, like you said, might be overly vaping the oils in there and making it into where now it's a fatal fume that people are inhaling.
I think that's a possibility, and it's all. I think the higher chance is the cartridges. From what I've seen, cartridges vary in size, vary in quality, and the components and all that. And sometimes the cartridges are what actually vape the inner oil, right? Like it has a built-in mechanism that's connected
To the
like
battery that
the battery, exactly, that
right,
passes through the electricity that heats up the coil and all that. I
right.
think those individual components within the cartridge sometimes might be, of poor quality or degrade to the point where it'll leach out, harmful chemicals or metals, etc.
I mean, but man, like I said, I'm not. If you want to vape, go ahead and vape. But I don't think it'll never unmask the coolness factor when you have a cigarette. Even in the movies when people like in the older ones they're smoking like chimneys and they have a cigarette and then they whip out a Zippo. I think it was just like more sophistication. And to me, when I see people vape, I'm just like, it's not doesn't even look cool. Like I don't know, but apparently it's real popular, especially with younger people. I was like researching stuff. There's people who've been vaping since like they're 14 years old, and this started. One of the blogs I read, supposedly this started in China, like in the early 2000s, and they just brought it to Europe and the U.S. And the thing, it was like an explosion because people thought it was safer than smoking, and I think that explosion led to what we're facing now with this popcorn lung and getting these chemicals, and that's why I think you really search for high quality cartridges or whatever. I think because you didn't see this early on.
I mean, it's essentially an electric hookah is what we're like
Mm-hmm.
looking at here. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Trump is actually planning on banning e-cigarettes.
Right.
He's gonna
I
kill
know
the whole industry. That's it's kind of shocking.
there is a lot of talk, because people want some kind of federal mandate or some type of federal regulation to these, just because all these people are scared and upset that more research isn't done to give them some type of feel good that a obviously there's some risks to anything, but the risks to this are minimum. We're just seeing a spike of bad cartridges or bad manufacturing practices that need to be a little tighter in regulation, and this will phase out and it'll just become just like regular cigarettes where you're going to have health issues, but it's a long-term issue instead of after 1 or 2 years of vaping you get this popcorn lung thing, or people being hospitalized because they're having respiratory issues.
Man, just get a cigarette, man.
Well,
Yeah,
you
I don't
old
know.
man, it's like you said, it looks cool, and it does, or at least I thought it looked cool, when I was a regular smoker.
And I
But
thought it is cool.
I think that's just an older generation, and that's why you're seeing the boom with younger people, because this e-cigarette is very convenient. A lot of the e-cigarettes and the vaping pens leave odorless or at least pleasant odors. I know when I was vaping, I favored the like fruitier scents, or these scents that had more of a like a natural flavor, uh, and also had the nicotine that you wanted. Because the nicotine part, that's the part that's addicting. So that's the part that you want. And so I would pick out these, and a lot of them had like really cool names. Like the one that I was favoring when I stopped smoking vaping was called the Buddy Holly, and it was really cool, man. It had a really nice flavor to it, and you could go to any vaping store and they had that flavor as far as an oil that you can put into your pen.
Um, so real quick, Noel, so they make cartridges with like marijuanas on there, or with the oil or the cannabis, or how does that work? How do they turn that into liquid?
So they extract the oil, and they do this for CBD as well. They extract the oil from the actual plant or the actual resin, I guess if you want to
Uh
call it.
huh.
And yeah, it's just a concentrated form of THC. They are able to extract the THC specifically to leave away the CBD, and vice versa, depending on what you want, of course. If you want CBD cartridge, or if you want, marijuana THC cartridge.
I, so do you get high? Because I thought CBD was without the THC on ABC.
Let's just say that if an individual was to partake in the consumption of these THC cartridges, that yeah, they would indeed get very, very high.
A
Not
concentrated high.
not admitting, I'm not admitting to breaking the law, Andy. But
Man,
I'm
in
saying
Illinois, it's legal now.
next year.
Not next year,
In
Andy.
a couple of months. Yeah.
Maybe if we put this in the can until next year, then maybe we can speak a little more freely. But as of
Right.
right now, we do not condone the use of illegal substance. But yeah,
It's for my
I,
cataracts.
Man, next year it's gonna be, dude. It's gonna be flying off the shelves. It's gonna be insane when the dispensaries are opening up. These oil cartridges can not only last a very, very long time, depending on, of course, on how much you consume, but it gets you to another level that dry herb just wouldn't get you in the same amount of time, in an efficient amount of time.
wow, to like Snoop Dogg levels.
Yeah, like a lot quicker to Willie Nelson than you've ever been.
Shit, damn.
I don't know, man. Like the marijuana, I thought it would be. Well, you're right. I think it's gonna be interesting to see if they still have all these vaping issues. If it's gonna be popular as it is, because I know they add chemicals to it. But I wonder if there's a company out there trying to make an effort to not to include those chemicals, because I don't know the process if they need it to is like act like as a preservative, or make it like with more smoke, all that vaping. I don't know if that's why they add those chemicals. I mean, that's a whole I didn't really delve into that side of it.
So when we're talking about THC oil and like marijuana oil and stuff like that, generally the high quality stuff that you can get in a dispensary,
Hmm.
you would get with literally just the ingredient being oil. It's not going to have any additives, any preservatives, nothing like that. It doesn't need any of that. It's literally just concentrated THC oil. And the another thing about it is it doesn't produce the same amount of vapor as, for example, like an e-liquid. Those actually produce a ridiculous cloud. And this, it would be a
Yes.
much more subdued cloud, uh, kind of similar to like maybe even less than a cigarette.
Right, right. Yeah, I think a lot of those big clouds, like you mentioned, it's people actively seeking devices that will give them that big poof of smoke because they think it looks really cool, which it does look pretty cool. But I don't know to what ends are you trying to create this big poof to where maybe it's harmful because the device is not made to do it naturally, or maybe they're putting an additive that will make it do that, and where the marijuana one might have more natural ingredients that won't create something that big.
And the voltage you're supposed to use the cartridges for THC at, it's a lot lower. Like you'll see some of the e-liquids be really high voltages, versus like 3.4, 3.5 for these THC cartridges. It's a very low voltage. So the chance of actually, combusting something or heating something to a dangerous level is, to me, extremely low.
Right. I remember when I first started vaping, the biggest issue that people were having is that sometimes these pens would explode.
Oh
You know, pe-
shit.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw some videos, but there's some YouTube videos where people are vaping and the pen just explodes in their hand, and people got really hurt with some of these explosions, man. Some of them were just a loud scare, people got scared and freaked out. But there's some where people got deformed, their face got all jacked up because the pen exploded while they were vaping.
Because with the batteries?
Yeah, the batteries would have a malfunction, or there was a issue with the heating coil to the point where the pen would explode in their hand.
Damn, man. That's why you gotta get made in Americas. That's interesting. Right. I don't. You would figure that was going on, and they really didn't do anything until now because people are getting sick, or whatever the issue is. With these respiratory issues. Well, at least you don't hear about exploding pens. Now they must have done something to the liquid so that won't happen.
Well, I think these explosions were very minimum. Now with social media, a lot of things spread faster and it becomes more mainstream quicker. But I think the amount of explosions compared to the amount of people that were actively vaping, it was a relatively small number. And even the people that are getting sick, 530. I had read something. It's not in this article, but I read somewhere that, man, there's thousands and thousands of people that are vaping. So if you put it down to the percentage of people actually getting sick is very minimum. But anybody getting sick is something to be a concern of, and that's what's creating this whole, interest in doing some investigation on it.
I'm gonna put my conspiracy tinfoil hat on, and I have a feeling Big Tobacco's behind all this shit, trying to we're losing sales. You gotta make this shit people think it's safe, and let's go get more cigarettes, or let's get regulated so much, and then they go in there and they buy it all out or something.
I mean that's not really a conspiracy as much as it is a good theory, because it makes logical sense that they would do that, and the fact that Trump, a businessman, is making this now ban, this, vape ban, is ridiculous to me. I mean, if you look at cigarettes, they cause 480,000 deaths per year, and it's still legal. Alcohol leads to 5,000 people under the age of 21, underage drinkers, 5,000 deaths per year. And it's, you're not making alcohol illegal, you're not making cigarettes illegal. So how are you going to ban something? I could see it restricting it from a younger, age group, but to ban it outright,
Well, it's already you got to be 18 to buy it. So I mean,
that's really all you can do, man.
It's always about money. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, so
yeah,
I mean, it's like you said, cars make a lot of deaths and flying and there's so much stuff that look at the opioid crisis, with the prescription medicines and how people get addicted to that, and yet that shit's still going, and you got to get a doctor's prescription so you get some of that shit with them pain medicine and all that. So it's weird that they're picking on this for whatever reason. The government's we got to do something about it.
Well, one of the big companies that provide these cartridges, Juul. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
Yeah, I know it.
Juul, they're actually owned by Philip Morris, and Philip Morris is a big cigarette company. And in this article that we were actually quoting some facts from the CNBC, if you watch the video in there, there's a stock market discussion about how Philip Morris is losing tons of money and their stock is going down big time because of all this news. And it's, they invested tons of money into this because they saw the growing market and they wanted to be a part of it. And so now, to your conspiracy theory, Andy, I don't know if it's really cigarette companies, because Philip Morris is a cigarette company, and, why would they be harming their own bottom line? Another tinfoil hat idea that I had read a few days ago was that maybe this, scare was created by the Trump administration to kind of subdue the impeachment talks that are going around. To me, it sounds a little ridiculous, but at the same time, I've heard of worse conspiracies, and it kind of makes a little bit of sense because, all these parents are really concerned with this, and oh, my kid's smoking, is it dangerous? And they want federal regulation. And to me, it's kind of bringing the conversation away from some of this impeachment talk that's going on.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Jewel, I remember watching or reading on Maxim when I used to get a subscription. They had a lot of advertising in Maxim. That's why I know of them. Well, Philip Morris bought them out, then yeah, that my theory is out the window. So who knows what the hell's going on? But ultimately, it's probably going to come down to individual states dictating. I'm good with that if they want them or not. Like here, I know in Illinois they were trying to make a big stink about it, in the Kansas and like in this article and other parts of the country. So I mean, I'm a big proponent of states' rights if they don't want them there. If that's what the people of that state want, and then good for them. I mean, I'm good with that. The getting the government, big government, the federal government involved, I think it's a little bit overkill. But I mean, it ain't like they're fucking selling these things out on the streets, So maybe
now they will, man. If they ban it, you're gonna start seeing some like shady shit go down with all that.
Wow,
yeah,
man. Now that you mentioned that, I haven't read this anywhere, but maybe since they're legalizing weed, they're like, man, this illegal substance has now become legal, so we can't bust people on it. So maybe we'll start busting people for e-cigs, because there's going to be a black market for them because people are still going to want it if the federal government makes it illegal.
You got a point, yeah.
It can be, I mean, but I don't think they're gonna have a big task force for e-cigarettes just yet.
No, probably not.
But it's interesting. There's a lot of stuff. Maybe shit is just it's bad for you, man. And I'm gonna stick to my theory. I think they just were mass producing them, and they were looking at cutting costs, and they got really cheap, and they started like everything, our food. They put preservatives and they put all this shit because it's cheap to produce, and I think just your fucking body is just like, what the fuck is this? And you can't handle it. We know, people in America eat so much shit that's bad for them. Even though you could beat them over the head with it, they're still gonna eat it or drink it or whatever,
Damn right, you gotta put some of that lard in the frijoles, man. Make them taste good.
Bro, them things are shiny and fucking good as fuck too.
Hell yeah, man. So I guess, Noel, any closing thoughts before we head out today?
Just vape responsibly, until it's illegal. You have the right to do so, but know that if you buy from some shady source, you get what you deserve, because when you go to the legal route, when you go through the right channels, you're gonna get some high quality product, and you're gonna get what you pay for. And yeah, that's about it.
Right, man. I enjoyed my little stint with vaping, but I got schizored. I don't want no vaping pens to be exploding in my beautiful face, and this just my looks are everything, man. I can't have that shit happening. So I stopped vaping. I stopped smoking, trying to preserve my good looks over here.
So yeah, I mean, if you guys want to smoke, do what you got to do. I like I said, do it responsibly. Try to find higher products, or fuck it. Go get the cheap shit and have that shit explode on your face, because maybe that's what you want. But speaking of explosions and vaping, we got to head out of here, guys. We want to thank you for listening. Remember, you can follow Freeform Network on Facebook and Twitter under Freeform Network. Also, you can send your suggestions, questions, what flavor you like to vape, or you could hook us up with some of those filters with the THC to give us. We'll get some reviews after the new year in 2020 to ffnquestions@gmail.com. Check out our webpage, freeformnetwork.podbean.com. Like always, everybody, all our fucking platforms are on there: Stitcher, Spreaker, YouTube, Spotify, Google Music, or whatever the fuck it's called now. I don't know. iTunes. iTunes. Remember that? We're still on that. Everything's on that website. Check it out. Again, we want to thank y'all for listening. We have Noel.
Take care, everybody. Vape responsibly.
We got Danny.
Yes, sir. Enjoy those summer days, man. They're not many left, and the fall is here.
And here, Andy, remember to tip responsibly when you go to the hotels. Those ladies got to clean up for whatever mess you leave in that bedroom. And we'll catch you all next time. And you guys go have some THC for us.
That was cool, Dad.